Record.
Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of the Nerds of the North podcast. I am host number 1, Matt, and joining me today, as usual, is host number 2.
This is Nick.
And today we're going to be discussing another installment of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as well as another episode of Invincible. I believe it should be episode 4 now. And then we're also going to be discussing some of Nick's thoughts on the Godzilla versus Kong film that just released, as well as some of our thoughts on the newly released trailer for Space Jam 2. So, Nick, why don't you take us away?
Yeah, so like Matt said, we're gonna just start off discussing Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Some maybe controversial thoughts that both Matt and I have about it, which I haven't really seen discussed other places, though I'm not as well read as one might expect from someone as handsome as I am. So essentially, we're gonna just start off here. So Matt agrees with me. He thinks this is a good way to kind of describe the show. It's essentially like watching a show through a fishbowl. It's kind of distorted, strange, but in my sense, in my opinion, it's also oddly good. That's debatable. Uh, it's just kind of a weird show. It feels to me oddly forced, but again, I still enjoy it. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I think if we're going to compare this to a lot of things that are on TV right now, and this is coming from a person who hasn't had, I cut the cord a long time ago. Like I've only ever really had paid subscriptions in terms of Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Disney Plus, things like that for quite a while now. I haven't had cable or satellite ever in my adult life after moving out from my parents' place. And so, um, if we're going to make the comparison of what Falcon and the Winter Soldier brings to TV outside of what's maybe available right now, I think the show is still better than a lot of that, probably, if I were to venture a guess. That being said, I just think Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in comparison to WandaVision, especially, is just boring. It's kind of a bummer that, and I don't think the show is to blame so far for that. I think it's the timing of it. We just are coming off the heels of WandaVision, which was this moment in television for a lot of folks. It was this entity that like people would wait up hours for after their like normal bedtimes to be able to watch as it was available to make sure they didn't get spoiled on anything in advance. And I don't think Falcon and the Winter Soldier is striking that same chord for a lot of folks. I know it's not for me. Generally, it's more of, well, I need to watch the newest episode of this because, well, I have a podcast I'm recording on Sunday, and and I need to be well informed on the topic. Um, but yeah, I just think that it's been a little dry, a little boring. There isn't. Uh,
Matt, are you there? Matt disappeared.
anyway, because I struggle to find where and how and why I should be concerned about what's happening
And
right
just so you
now.
know, Matt, you disappeared for like maybe like 2 seconds there. So
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. I think story writing 101, you need to give the characters motivation and give the audience a reason to care. As far as I'm concerned, at this point in the show, it hasn't really given us a strong reason to care beyond just caring about the characters.
Hmm.
Because whoever these flag smasher a-holes are currently, I
Hmm.
don't give two rat asses about them. I don't even understand what they're trying to do. Like who
Hmm.
are they? What are they trying to accomplish? I don't know. All I know is I don't care. So why should the audience care? Like why do I like who cares? I don't know. Are they good? Are they bad? Who cares?
Hmm.
Because I don't even know what they're trying to do. Like, so apparently Bucky and Sam are trying to stop these flag smasher guys. and which is great and all, but it doesn't really give a timer for the audience because we don't know what's going on. Sometimes that works in a storyline when the mystery is built up, but the mystery hasn't been built up very well here, I don't think. So I'm just sitting here watching these flag smashers, wondering why the hell I'm watching a flag smasher. And while meanwhile, Sam and Bucky break out Zemo from jail because apparently there's this huge threat about super soldiers. Who, I mean, as a viewer of the Marvel universe, literally they've had crazy superpowered people all over the entire planet for like years now. What? Who cares if we're about these super soldiers? Like, I don't care. Like, what difference does it make to me if there's super soldiers in the Marvel universe now? It's just kind of dumb in that regard. So the show needs to give me a reason to care. I think they tried to when the the red haired lady. See, I don't even know her name. Do I care what her name is? No. But like she like
Yeah,
blows up this
mhm.
building. And to be honest with you, and I watched the episode twice, mind you, I don't know why she blew up the building. They probably explained it, but I don't know. And frankly, I don't care. So um
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong there. Like the character's name, Carly Morgenthau.
oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, she does explain why she blows up the building, but it felt like more of a side thought than anything.
Why does she said something like this is the only thing these animals understand. Like what?
Yeah, like this is the only language these people understand. And so what she's insinuating there obviously is like violence. Like violence is the only thing these people understand.
What
And
people
but
though? Who are these people?
okay, so see that's the question is like who's the people? Like because like this looks like this was an organization. This is okay, the GRC,
Oh
yes?
yeah, yeah.
And so they are an organization that's there to help people who came back from the blip
Really
after
evil.
having been gone for
Really
five
evil.
years. Yeah, right.
Like we supposed
Like
to be like, oh
to
my god, like these people are trying to aid people who got blipped, who didn't even. It wasn't their fault they got taken out of the world against their will.
Mhm.
Now they're back.
Right, yeah, like so they're there to try and help people
I'm sure
and
there's something nefarious going on, but
mhm.
again, I don't care because I don't understand what's happening. And
Yeah, because all we really know is that Bucky and Sam are going after the Flag Smashers because they have access to super soldier serum, and they have so far introduced a handful of characters who have taken that serum and are now super powered,
I
or at
know
least have super
20. They
strength.
took 20 of them. Oh my
Right.
god. It's like
And
that's gonna change the world.
right, yeah, and so the threat at large seems very small, especially when the organization that they're going after is more or less trying to help people and keep people fed. And like what Carly says to a soldier who's stationed at that GFC facility,
GRC?
GRC,
GRC.
yeah, GRC facility before it explodes due to her efforts, um, is that you had 6 months of supplies in here just sitting here. Uh, and to me, what that made me think is, well, yeah, you have 6 months of supplies to divvy out to a large number of people.
Yeah.
Well, they don't really make it abundantly clear, like, are they sitting on all these supplies and not giving them to people? Are they divvying it out over a small period of time? Is budgeting a problem? Like, it just brings real world implications to the forefront of the conversation of like, well, maybe there's a reason they have 6 months. Maybe that's all they have. And so they need to make it last a while.
Well, I actually think it's
So,
pretty interesting. They're like tackling the blip, like the MCU is calling it. Like I think
mhm,
that's interesting, but
yeah.
I just am not engaged by the story because they don't give me a reason to be engaged by it. Like nothing looks like it's going wrong, like with the with what they're doing. So, and yeah, it's
Mhm.
like it would probably be really bad for the people who got blipped and then came back, and then the people who didn't get blipped, maybe they had a better life before that happened. Sure, like
Mhm.
I get that. That's pretty interesting. That's a pretty interesting storyline, but it's
Sure.
not that engaging in the show itself. Especially because it's with these people that I don't know anything about them and what they're trying to accomplish by taking the super soldier serum. I guess I should be interested in, but it just I don't see any reason to be, you know? So
Yeah, no, like I feel like they haven't really introduced a reason for us to care about the goings on of the Flag Smashers, along with like Carly Morgenthau and company. Like,
yeah.
we know that they stole the serum, that they're kind of Robin Hooding their way through GRC facilities and distributing those supplies to people as they see fit.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, like we don't really know like what their purpose is.
Right.
Like I don't
What's
really
a
understand why they're the or why they are a group of bad guys so far.
yeah, I know it's going to be revealed and I'll be there when it does get revealed. I just think it could have been handled a little bit better as far as the storytelling perspective. Because, like I said, like I think it's Quentin Tarantino who said that if you have two people talking at a table, have a bomb under the table. Like it makes the scene so much more interesting. So if you have these people going to Madripoor to try and stop whatever is going on with Flag Smashers, you want to have like the Flag Smashers. Maybe they planted a bomb somewhere, like somewhere, where it's going to kill a lot of people. And the people in Madripoor, these people that are trying to stop it, have like a ticking time clock where they're like, we have to get this done, else all these people are going to die. As it is
Mhm.
right now, you just have a group of people in Madripoor trying to do something. Meanwhile, you also have this other storyline of these other group of people, the Flag Smashers, who you don't even know what they're doing. Like
Right.
there's nothing there driving the story, which I think is the main problem and why the show does feel like you're watching it through a fishbowl. There's not a main narrative thrust to get the characters energized to actually solve this issue. So it's
Yeah.
just like it needs something. Let's move on to Madripoor because I think you had a really great point when we were talking before the show began about
Untowards.
this bridge scene. um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like the bridge and the fact that there were no one there. Just so you're aware too. I think you cut out there for a minute as well.
Oh
Zoom's
crap.
being funny today.
I hope did it cut out anything good? I hope not.
Yeah,
'Cause
I the last thing I heard was the bridge from you.
oh, that's fine then. What I said was
Mhm.
that I think you talked before we started this about the bridge scene, and I just kind of wanted
Mhm.
to get you retelling that story again because I found it really amusing. So
Yeah, well, this is this is a huge city, like as you can clearly see, and these motherfuckers land on the outskirts of the city and are walking up on foot on this bridge, this huge bridge into the city, and there's not a single car on the entire bridge.
the other
What is
thing
this?
we didn't really talk about is this is probably
Mhm.
explained somehow, but they're on an island, right? Like, where was the bridge coming from? Is it maybe from the mainland? I don't know. Never mind. It could be, I
Right.
suppose.
Yeah, but it just really it begs the question of why is this bridge deserted? Why are they getting picked up by the lone car on this entire bridge? Like, is that the power of the Madripoor mob? Is to like we need to pick up three men from this bridge, clear the bridge for the next 6 hours. Like, what is this? Like, there's no my suspense of disbelief can go out the window on certain things. Like, all right, like you got superpowered soldiers, all right, fine. You have men
Yeah.
who fly around with mechanical wings, all right. That dude's arm is made of a nearly invincible metal, okay. But to clear traffic that efficiently and that quickly, that's where my realism ends. Like, what do you mean? And so I'm a little annoyed by that, as well as a few things from this episode. But that was one of the first things that I noticed on my initial watching is why? Like, why is this the approach they're taking? Like,
Yeah, the way I think I just we talked about earlier, I'm like, okay, so Zemo flew this jet all the
mhm.
way over to this Madripoor island in the South Pacific. They land, they get off the plane, they start walking. There's a bridge. They walk across this long bridge, and someone who's crossed the bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, like it's not that easy to walk across the entire bridge, by the way, especially if it's a long bridge. So you got these like three mother effers just like walking down the. I don't know if they're like, was it on the road or was it like on the side? I can't remember. Anyway, there's
They
walking.
are in the middle of the road. They
Okay,
are walking down like the white stripe in the middle
yeah.
of the road.
So they're walking down this empty bridge, and another car picks them up. We don't. Did they say what the car was? I don't remember. Where'd the car come from? The car comes, picks them up. They continue driving. They get surrounded by like these motorcycle brigade thing, and then that's it. That's all we know. I don't know what happened in that scene, but I remember, like you, I don't think I like consciously thought, I'm like, something is weird here. Like it just it seems kind of strange. And then they enter
Yeah,
the city.
because
The city itself is kind of cool, but yeah.
the city itself is cool. I actually don't know where they filmed that scene, but I was very impressed by because that's exactly what they chose that area to to film that. It was because it was a beautiful sight. This crazy, like
Yeah.
almost cyberpunk-esque city off in the horizon,
To me, it looked
off of a
really,
bridge.
really a lot like Hong Kong. Enough so
Hmm.
that I actually thought it was Hong Kong, like when I first saw it.
God, wouldn't that be the whole thing? That'd be a whole different controversy, wouldn't it?
So.
But yeah, like it was. There's two moments in this or I guess three if we're including the bridge. There's a bridge scene, and then following the bridge scene, where we are met with Bucky and Sam and Zemo trying to make their way into the club and talk to
Selby.
um, to Selby, right? So it's in this scene that Nick, as you have described, like this is like the gangster scene, right? This is like the mob scene. There's a lot of tension going on. They're pretending to be part of this crowd when they're really not. There's a lot of tension going on, and then Sam's phone goes off. What do you mean Sam's phone goes off? Like he's getting a message from his
Matt's gone. Matt's gone. Hopefully he'll be back soon.
like storytelling wise, I am blown away that that was the moment. Like if anything, if anything in this episode with Sam pretending to be this character of Smiling Tiger, like he's pretending to be another black guy. Is there anything else that might give that away? Like the fact that he's not that dude, that
Yeah,
someone who
I was
knows him
kind of
personally
confused about
might
that
recognize
too.
him?
Yeah, it's like they're just clearly the bartender had met this smiling tiger before because he knew what he liked to drink, which was
Right?
apparently snake innards. But I'm like, have you ever met like two different, completely different people where you're like, oh, I don't see any difference between these people. Like, I don't like I would it's not like if a Matt lookalike came to my bar and ordered like a drink, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, this is Matt. You know,
Right?
there's like
Yes.
differences
Like,
between people. Their voices will be different, or I don't know. I just
no,
unless
like
they're
I thought it was
literally
really
like
weird too.
twins, you know?
Yeah, well, because like I mean, okay, let's be real here. Like stepping outside the scope of the show, like that photo was clearly Anthony Mackie, like dressed as this smiling tiger character, right? Like I'm pretty sure that was actually him, like just dressed as this character, because that's funny for the audience to realize. But like in the moment, yeah, like Anthony, like Sam is trying to take this shot of the snake innards with the vodka, and he hesitates and is like, "Huh, huh, huh." Like he's not hiding it at all. He's not trying to
Yeah.
pretend like this is his normal
Well,
beverage of
that's
choice.
that's comic relief, Matt. You know,
But it's
that's
bullshit.
funny.
It's bullshit. I'm mad. like,
Well, like it
like,
kind of like does this smiling tiger guy, he comes to the bar quite often, apparently, to have a regular drink. But
uh-huh,
apparently no one comes up and says hello to him either. So I don't
right? Like, so is that Smiling Tiger's like normal reaction to this drink? Like, oh yes, snake inners and vodka. Oh yeah, goes down
well,
smooth.
and like you look at the bartender's face, and like I think he's supposed to be wearing like a skeptical looking frown.
Yeah,
It's like I
right.
don't.
Yeah, like he is obviously like, oh, this is a little weird. And I think honestly, the only thing that saves them from being caught in that moment is like some random people having a problem with Zemo being there in the bar at the moment, and then Winter Soldier Bucky strutting his stuff and throwing some people down, and like, okay, like that moment by itself, I can let slide because although I didn't like the moment at the bar, like at least Bucky's able to step in and break up the seeming stupidity of this scene. But it's really that phone call interrupting all the business in with
Yeah.
the mob boss with Selby that really
Well,
kills me.
well, here's the thing, and I know we've discussed this before too. I
Hmm.
feel the show has different scenes that are like, oh, this is the gangster scene. This is where they meet the mob boss. And a mob
Hmm.
boss scene never ends well. There's always like something that goes wrong and
Hmm.
someone's going to get killed. That's almost always how these mob scenes go. And so this
Sure.
like weird call he receives, Bucky that is, or sorry, Sam that is,
Hmm.
he it was forced. And I think that's why you don't like it because it is to me it seemed like, oh, something has to go wrong. So that went wrong. And then also on
Sure.
top of that, you also have Selby. Who I'm sorry, she's like a 5 foot tall British woman with like that weird like gelled haircut thing. Like I
Hmm.
just kind of felt like it was bizarre. Like I just wasn't threatened
Hmm.
by her at all. So
Right.
and I don't mean to like say, I'm not like threatened by a woman like that. I'm just saying the actress didn't have like a sense of like gravitas where I'm like, oh man, this anything could go wrong right now because this she's like insane. Like I didn't have that feeling at all. Like I don't think she commanded the presence to make the main characters on edge because I wasn't on edge, and if I'm on edge, why would the main characters be? You know?
Right. Yeah, and I think and I mean, I guess to be fair, like Selby didn't need to be threatening for very long because she was on screen for all of 5 fucking minutes. But because then she's murdered by
Yeah,
a unknown sniper,
yeah.
which
I was confused
if
by
I'm
that
to
too. I assume that the sniper had some sort of relation to Sharon Carter, but
I'm of the opinion, if I'm gonna put my spin foil hat on here for a moment, I think it was Sharon that shot Selby.
But to me, that doesn't make any sense because they literally run out of
Hmm.
this bar and
Hmm.
like Sharon, I guess she had been in another building somehow close by, and then she had to like run down and meet them
No,
down
Sharon
there.
was in the bar when they
She
arrive.
was, yeah, but she had to have sniped the
Hmm.
woman from another building, I presume.
Hmm.
So she runs down. They all meet up outside, and somehow it's all like okay. Like, and the other thing too, like the next scene, you see Bucky's running, right? He's running away. They're all getting shot at, but he's not
Sure.
running super speed either. Someone pointed that out.
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. I suspend my disbelief for that. But to me,
Sure.
it's like again, I just kind of felt like it was forced. Like, oh, okay, now
Hmm.
here's the running away scene. Like they got to get out of here. And I think the other thing too that makes all the tension kind of just evaporate out of every single scene is none of these characters are ever going to get injured or hurt or die, frankly. So
Right.
again, that and I mean that's just the Marvel thing in general, I suppose, because these characters often continue on into the next project. But
Hmm.
for whatever reason, like I still always could have that sense of like the story kind of taking me away in a I guess not always, but the story has to have something that is I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for. I think that was Samuel Coleridge who said willful
Hmm.
suspension of disbelief.
Sure.
And as the story is progressing, I just kind of feel like it's a it's like you have like a bunch of like photographs on a wall, and some like screenwriters like, oh, I got to connect this scene to this scene, and then this scene to people are going to want to see this scene, but how do I make it connect to this scene? So I feel like it's like there hasn't been a narrative thrust because the screenwriters want certain things to happen, but
Right.
it's not like giving it like a coherent sort of like storyline to keep me engaged. I am still engaged, but because it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I don't. If this wasn't a Marvel show, I probably would have stopped watching it, to be frank. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's my opinion. So
No, I tend to agree. Like, I just think that the and it is still early in the show.
yeah,
Like, are going to have more opportunities for this narratively to all make sense.
and you know what?
Um,
By the end of it, I bet I end up liking it. That's always how I am. So here I am
I don't
complaining.
know, because like we look at WandaVision, because like if we're gonna make a comparison to anything, WandaVision is the template, right? Because
Yeah,
that's the other Marvel property that's been introduced by Disney Plus.
and
That
I think
is
the
a
best
episodic
comparison would
series.
be the end of episode 4 of WandaVision
Hmm.
because the first 2 episodes of WandaVision they aired at the same time or they released at the same date. So
Right. Yeah, and so you have several episodes of WandaVision that are dedicated just to world building, and which is, oh, like Wanda and Vision have found themselves in a sitcom that somehow exists, and so that like very is a very interesting hook for people to grab onto and to be curious about and to go down the rabbit hole and understand and like look at how the internet reacted to the beginning of WandaVision. They were
yeah.
so curious, like Reddit exploded with
Yeah.
speculation.
Well, I mean, like for me, honestly, the first 2 weeks of WandaVision, I think I liked it, but I was also a little nervous for Marvel because
Hmm.
I'm like, this is so weird that I hope people
Right.
take the time to actually sit down and watch this because it's not anything like they put out before.
Hmm.
And I think it was a worthy risk for them to take. I think it turned out really, for the most part, really strong.
Sure.
And this show does kind of seem like, this is Marvel 101 right now, that what we're watching.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, and I'm hoping that we get there with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Um, I will say that at this point, I'm having a hard time caring, just because the issues we've been talking about is some of the like the scene to scene progression doesn't really make a ton of sense, and
Yeah.
there doesn't seem to be a lot of purpose to the show yet.
Well,
Like,
I pointed this out specifically in the blog I wrote about this. I think
mhm,
the show at its best is when it's playing with themes of what is America worth fighting for? What does it mean to be Captain
mhm,
America in a morally relativistic world? Like let's take on the like patriotism, let's take on race. What does all this mean? And I think this
mhm,
show, when it's tackling those themes, is actually really, really interesting. And
mhm,
the scene I'll point out specifically in this episode, which I felt was probably the strongest scene, was the scene um, where Sam is talking about how maybe he should have thrown the Captain America shield into the ocean when he received it because it's causing all these people pain and misery, like Isaiah, who's I do think Isaiah is really interesting, and I hope they go back to him, and Sharon, who's
mhm,
now forced to live on Madripoor as essentially like I don't know what she is, like a thief, like a high powered. I'm terrible with words
right,
sometimes. But anyways, but
mhm,
and at that scene, obviously, we're asking these questions, and I think the really what the driving question in that moment is America worth fighting for? Because you look at
mhm,
America's past, yeah, there's things that happened that were not great. So what does it mean to fight for America? What does it mean to be Captain America now in the world that we're living in? And
mhm.
again, that's what I like about this show. And I hope they will continue to cover those topics. That's quite obvious. So
Yeah, no, I think I absolutely agree that the show is most interesting when it's tackling these topics that are bigger than the sum of the narrative of the show.
yeah,
Because yeah, Isaiah is a very interesting character, and I'm very interested to hear more about him and his experience, um, from the lens of Sam and Bucky's investigation into what's going on with the super soldier serum and so on. But so far, just from what we've seen, they haven't done a very good job of fleshing that out yet. And if they do in the future, then I would be more than happy to, revisit these episodes
Right.
and think,
Well, I mean,
okay,
yeah.
I see what they're doing.
And as the show
But
continues, I think we will see that. I think the Flag
Mhm.
Smashers will come into focus. Clearly, there's an anti-nationalistic bent to that, and clearly Captain America is a nationalistic hero. So again, I
Mhm.
think that show there's a tension there, which is really fascinating. Again, and the what's his name, John Walker. Again,
Mhm.
like he's a great character actually, and when the show is
Sure.
focusing on him, I'm actually pretty engaged
Yeah.
with when John Walker's on screen. So yeah, and the other thing we can talk about too is I think both of us have kind of felt like that maybe Anthony Mackie, maybe wasn't he maybe he doesn't have the acting chops or the gravitas for this role. And I think we've both been kind of thinking about that. I don't like to me it almost sounds like I'm attacking the guy, and I'm definitely not, because I knowing nothing about him, like I like his aura. I think he seems like a nice dude. But when
Mhm.
I'm watching him, I just don't feel like, man, this guy, like he's a great guy. He's the next Captain America. He's what this country is. Like he represents that. That's not what I get
Right.
from him. I get kind of like a stoic individual who, in all honesty, doesn't want any part of this. Like he doesn't want to be a part of this, really. I mean, he
Mhm.
doesn't outright say that, but just like his attitude on screen, like he just doesn't seem like he wants to be there. And I don't know if that's like a product of the script or the way it was filmed. Again, there's not like that motivating. There's
Mhm.
nothing motivating these characters to do this besides like the mystery of this super soldier serum, which again isn't a very interesting MacGuffin to me at least. And I don't know. Do you know what a MacGuffin is, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. Um. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree. Like, because as you and I have spoken about outside the realm of the podcast, I personally, I was a big fan of Altered Carbon by means of Netflix. I thought it was a really cool show in season one, and I've enjoyed the books through book two by means of audiobook. So I have some context and literature outside of the show. Um, but within the first season of Altered Carbon, I really enjoyed how they told that story. Um, and I thought it did a pretty good job of conveying everything that happened within the novel. Season two, I think, was a lot rougher. And I think part of that was Anthony Mackie's delivery as as the main character in that. I think again, it comes down to I think it's just his acting. I think there's something about him that it doesn't quite hit hard enough when you're really wanting him to like hit some emotional or narrative beats.
Yeah. And the thing too
Uh,
about the best actors, like that
mhm,
scene that you're talking about when they were in that, with the Selby and he gets that phone call, like a best
mhm,
actor, even though that scene is on its face pretty freaking ridiculous,
mhm.
like if a good actor can make you believe it, you know.
Yes, and whether or not that scene could have been salvaged by anyone, quite frankly, I don't know because I think it was just a little ridiculous. Um, but yeah, like I think perhaps a different actor could have maybe sold that scene in or that moment because like Sam is a very put together character. He's not for like we haven't really been given reason to assume that Sam is forgetful or that he's scatterbrained. Really, like he as a character has been presented to us as a pretty straight-laced military guy with strong patriotic ties and who is very loyal to his friends. Like I think if you're going to boil down the character to a few bullet points, perhaps most people would agree. that those match up fairly well with Sam Wilson or the Falcon. So for him to forget to turn his phone off, it just seems like
I
a
love
little
how
bit of
you
a
hate
stretch,
that
right?
so much. It just
I
makes me
hate it so much. Like it's going to be something that bothers me throughout the whole show moving forward. And but yeah, like I don't know. Like I just think
Yeah, the other
I will
thing.
say
Sorry.
mhm.
No, go on.
Yeah, I will say that I did I'll say that I did both love and hate the recurring joke that is made at the closer to the tail end of this episode when Zemo gets the car and Sam jumps in the back and Bucky's ahead of him in the passenger seat and he asks him if he'll move his seat up. Like I did enjoy the revisiting of that joke from
Yeah.
oh, was it, that would have been Civil War, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I did enjoy them revisiting that because that was a really funny scene. It did feel a little forced, but I did like that scene originally a lot, so I thought it was fun to revisit it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that whole scene on the shipping container, I thought was
Hmm.
kind of weird, honestly.
Hmm.
Because I like I mentioned before, they go and find the doctor, I think his name's Nagel, and he's like this, this weird guy. And they just
Textbook
walk.
nerd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nerd alert. And like he's like standing there, whatever. And then they're like, "You're gonna talk to us." And he's like, "Okay." And here's everything absolutely that's ever been on my mind. Like, here's what I ate for lunch. Like he just keeps talking and talking and talking. And then like someone
Hmm.
shows up, I think, with a rocket launcher and blows it up. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, the guy dies after. Like, I mean, Zemo kills him. I guess they never bring that up again either, do they? Zemo kills him, and then like, and they're like, "Oh, we're buds with Zemo again afterwards." but like, and
See,
then like,
okay, there's another problem with this is that like they're very Sam is uber skeptical of bringing Zemo in on any of this. And then the first opportunity where it might be important to keep Zemo on a short leash, they just let him kind of wander around this guy's lab and then let him fiddle around and find a gun
yeah,
in which he uses to kill this scientist. It's like, and then, but moments
yeah.
later, they're like, oh, well, he's got a car.
I swear too, when you see like the dead Nagel's face too, it looks like he has freaking ketchup on his like. He's like, "Oh,
Right.
eating a
Yeah.
hot dog." Like,
Right.
oopsies.
Oh, the hot dog's everywhere.
Yeah. Oopsies.
Mhm.
Yeah, that whole scene, honestly, like it was just kind of like there was no tension in it. Like you have like Sharon Carter going berserk on the outside. She's like killing dudes left and right, which again, straight out of John Wick. And if
Mhm.
I might be wrong about this, but I think the writer of the John Wick movies may have had some involvement in this episode. I'm probably wrong. I won't even bring that up. I could be right, but I might be wrong. So who knows? Anyway, so like she's going like berserk and she's like throwing knives. It's like actually pretty gruesome, and I kind of liked it. But I'm like,
Mhm.
it just seems so bizarre to me. Like I didn't really like where was the tension? And who were these people? Were they like the ship's guards or were they like Selby's people? I don't know. Like I don't know.
Right. There's a lot of ambiguity in the episode. And
And
I
and
will
then
say
afterwards,
that.
afterwards, like you said, though, they just all
Mhm.
hop in a car. They're like, "Oh, let's make a joke." Well, I got all these freaking people are just laying dead everywhere and like these incredibly grotesque deaths. And somehow they have a car on a boat. I guess that's fine. I don't know. I guess cars are on shipping containers a lot.
Mhm.
The car like
Right.
drives off, and they're like, and then Sharon Carter's like, "Hey, man, we gotta follow those people." There's like another freaking car. And she's like, this is so
Right.
stupid. I don't know. Like, is it like I don't know. It just seemed kind of
It
stupid.
see it feels very weird because so what I am curious about now that we're calling closer to the end of the episode,
Yeah.
you have Sharon having helped Sam and Bucky and Zemo like kind of find their information they needed. She's gone on her merry way and has now met up with this other woman who is just there with a car waiting for her.
See, I thought
And
my assumption was maybe that Sharon had a group of people working for her, and that person that she hopped in the car with was a sniper that killed Selby. But I could be wrong about that.
maybe see that's the thing is like we don't know about like whom these people are, or like
Yeah.
who's helping her, like
Well,
what exactly is
yeah.
going
Well, the
on.
thing is, like, Sam and Bucky are running through the city at one point, and like, there's people like shooting out of windows and like killing people, and then Zemo walks up. He's like, "Oh, it looks like you guys have a guardian angel, don't you?" And then Sharon shows up right after like this person sniped from the window. So I'm like, there has to be more people than just Sharon shooting, right? Or am I wrong?
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, in that moment when they're getting shot before they see Sharon, the assumption is that a whole ton of people got at the same text message of whoever
Yeah,
killed Selby.
which again, very John Wick, very John Wick.
There's a huge yeah, there's a huge bounty on your head, or on their head. You can collect it if you kill them. And so in that moment, like, I liked that moment because the moment that it happened, a message got put out like, "Hey, Sylvie's dead. Like,
Yeah,
get her, kill her, and you can get a lot of money." Like, that moment didn't bother me that much. The quickness in which it happened is suspect, which is why I'm kind of suspicious of Sharon Carter at this point.
yeah.
Um,
Now that we're
because
talking
like,
about it, I kind of feeling that she probably is connected to the power broker.
right, yeah, or I don't know. Maybe this is a little too on the nose for Marvel, but maybe Sharon is the power broker. Um, who knows? I don't want to make this
Yeah,
assumption. That
I
would
don't know.
seem like very poor storytelling to me,
It kind of makes sense though, but
but anyway, I would say that, like, this to me has felt like the weakest episode of the show so far. Um, yeah, I just think that it felt very disjointed. Like you said, with the fishbowl analogy, like, it felt a little kind of slow, and like things just didn't flow very well. And I hope there's some clarity that's brought in with the next episode, because I haven't actually heard about this myself, but you mentioned that apparently there's supposed to be a cameo happening in episode 5.
yeah, there
So,
was like a tweet put out.
mhm.
I can't remember. It was a while ago. And they had an overhead picture of I should have the tweet. I don't know. Sorry guys, but and it's like this. You're looking at the location where this scene happens. Note it down because you guys are just gonna go crazy when you see what happens here and who's involved with it, like in the scene. So I kind of almost think um it might be Captain America himself. I think it might be Chris Evans. Could be wrong, but
I don't know. If I'm to put my money down, I'd say it's Don Cheadle showing up as War Machine.
yeah, but they already did that though. So
Yeah, but I bet they bring him back. I think he shows up and saves Bucky and Sam's ass in a situation.
yeah,
It's
he
gonna
has to
be
show up again.
Deus Ex Cheetah.
What do you think of
And
that Wakanda reveal at the end of the episode?
um I think it's really cool. Um because Bucky now has these really strong ties to Wakanda because they took care of him and helped
Yeah,
kind of nurse him back to not only physical but mental well-being after his time as for so long as a Hydra agent unknowingly. So for a representative of Wakanda to show up, I think it was actually really cool. Um, I think the way that they did it was a tad strange, like these like seemingly innocuous
yeah.
random marbles laying around.
I thought they were like bombs or something, but maybe they were just like
I think they're
recorders.
like listening devices or something
Yeah,
along those lines. Like, so I thought that was a little weird, and the fact that Bucky's keeping that secret from Zemo and Sam seems a little weird
yeah.
too. But
Like it makes sense he would keep it secret from Zemo, but why Sam? Or maybe he just
mhm.
couldn't get alone time with Sam. I don't know.
Right, yeah, like I said, like I'm hoping the next episode clears some of the air on some of this. But
Apparently, there was an
whoever,
interview by Sam or
mhm.
Sebastian Stan, and he said the next episode's a really strong one for what it's worth.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe this was a world building, or just like a get to where we need to be type episode. If that's the case, then fine. Like, every show needs to have these episodes where it's not a banger, but it gets us to where we need to be. And if that's the case with episode 3 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then so be it. But I will be upset if they don't deliver on this episode 5, because if you're gonna really like amp it up the way that you are and then not deliver, then you're gonna have problems down the road. So
yeah. All right, let's move on to Godzilla vs. Kong. Since you haven't seen it, I'm just gonna run through my kind of opinion about it. This won't take too long. So for me, I really actually enjoyed this movie quite a bit. It's big, it's really stupid, but it's freaking awesome. Like, if you thought Justice League was a mishmash of genres, this movie has freaking kaiju and that Jules Verne novel where they go into the earth. Man, it was good. It's really freaking good. Like, I love conspiracies. they really talk about like conspiracies. There's this one character who's like super into conspiracies. I really dug him. In fact, he like at one point he meets up with like the girl from Stranger Things, Millie Bobby Thornton or something.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Like Thornton's like Bob.
Yeah, you lost it a bit on the last name, but yeah, Millie Bobby Brown.
So Bobby Thornton, he meets up with Bobby Thornton.
God damn it.
And he's like, tap or non-tap? And Bobby Thornton's like, non-tap. And like her friend is like, what are you guys talking about? He's like, tap water. Like they put fluoride in it. And and then he's like, yeah, I can tell. I can tell you're non-tap. I found that joke pretty amusing.
Okay, there you came back. You ducked out again there for a minute.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, since I'm the one that's recording, if it's actually gonna affect things overall. But yeah, I'll just move past it. It wasn't that. It was just a joke. I was commenting on a joke. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, spoiler alert. So the movie ends with like this, like once Kong and Godzilla like fight each other in Hong Kong, mind you, like literally by the end of this movie, Hong Kong is straight up dead. Like that, no one's alive there. Well, I'm not gonna say that, but yeah, like they destroy it. It's not good. It's like dead.
Sure,
right?
It's a big problem. Yeah,
it's dead. They're dead. Everyone's dead, and it's amazing to watch. But yeah, there's a lot, and the movie just does it like oh, he's knocking down this building. Oh man, that's so cool. Like, oh yeah, like probably like 1 million people just died in that one smash. Like, actually Kong, he's like hopping on the ground, like he's like jumping on people. They're just like getting. Let's be honest, like his feet are probably like bloody as hell. I forgot what I was even talking about.
Oh no. Anyway,
so yeah, the movie ends with Mechagodzilla showing up, which is pretty cool. Not gonna lie. For some reason, it can, because it's like has some sort of. They get the Mechagodzilla by like taking Rodan's corpse. I don't know, but it like escapes their control. They're like fighting in Hong Kong. It's like really kind of crazy.
Sure.
But yeah, it's like the concoction, this bizarro, strange concoction of like an acid tripped mind, and like so you'll have one scene and Kong just like running through this beautiful like
video. I'm done.
Sure.
Can you hear that, Matt?
Can I hear you?
Got a Nova bomb, bro.
Something in the background. Okay, it's gone now. Oh, that's weird. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that was strange. I don't know what happened. Anyway, so Kong is like running through this like crazy like underground realm, and there's like mountains up below him, mountains above him. Gravity's all screwed up, and he goes into like this giant temple thing, and he like pulls up this like freaking giant glowing bone axe, and he sits on the freaking throne like freaking Joffrey from Game of Thrones. And the next scene, Kong and Godzilla like duking it out like Apo ate Lizardo in like this like crazy like cyberpunk nighttime Hong Kong battle. And there's like neon lights, and there's giant kawaii billboard images, and it's like flashing in this phantasmagoric haze of like people screaming and running. There's like these freaking explosions. They're extremely yellow, and like Godzilla just at one point, I remember the scene very well. He like gets his face smashed against the building, and like glass just like sprays out like a fine mist. And I mean, it was glorious. I got it. Like, it was glorious, and like this movie, and I think there's something to the characters of Godzilla and King Kong. I think there's like, it's beyond like how words can describe it. Like you see an image of Kong, you see an image of Godzilla. That's like a straight up image of like some sort of primordial god in front of you. And I think that resonates somewhere deep down in like the human soul. We are looking at this freaking image of Godzilla right there, and you're like, oh my God. Literally, oh my Godzilla. I think it's like it speaks to like our lizard brain in a weird way. And
Sure.
I thought they nailed it. Like I got exactly what I wanted from it. So if Falcon and the Winter Soldier is slow and plodding, King Kong and Godzilla is an explosive, crazy, lights everywhere, mythic creatures battling it out, like orgy. So I recommend it if you want my opinion about it.
I mean, I think you did a good job endorsing that movie. I mean, I know that I
Hey,
was
Matt,
wanting to watch. Yeah.
For some reason, your voice is coming through like really badly.
Oh, really?
No, that's better. That's better.
This is better? Okay.
Oh, wait, is it? Maybe don't speak as loudly or as close to the microphone.
Let's try this. I want to make sure that this is coming through.
Yeah, I was getting some really weird feedback when I was like talking to, like it was almost like a video was playing in the background.
There we go. Is this better? Does this sound okay?
It's still a little weird.
That's really strange. Let me try this. I'll make sure these settings are set up correctly. Okay, that's turned off. That's fine. Should be coming through okay.
Yeah,
let me.
Maybe just don't talk so close to the microphone. I think it'll probably be fine.
Yeah, but yeah, like I enjoy the kaiju franchise or like just style of movie. I'm a big fan of that. I am planning on seeing this movie, but hearing what you're talking about with this movie, I'm quite excited to see it now because I just think that's what this movie is. Like, I'm looking at it in the same way that I looked at Aquaman. But like this movie knows what it is from the outset, and it doesn't need to be anything more than that. Than just like a fun romp in the hay. Like this movie is kind of bananas over the top.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a lot of fun seeing it.
That's a good way to describe it. It's like a one-night stand. You don't come to this movie for like a long-term relationship.
Right. This is a one-and-done type of situation.
Exactly. Or maybe you do. I don't know. Some people like that. I think we were going to briefly touch on Invincible real fast. I personally don't have a lot to say about it, but I'll leave that up to you and I'll chime in.
Yeah, I think the newest episode of Invincible was definitely a little bit more of a world building episode. Narratively, I don't think there was a ton going on. I have enjoyed each and every one of these episodes because I've been trying to stay on par or ahead of it by means of the comics. So I'm still in Compendium 1. I'm roughly halfway through. So I'm a little bit ahead of where the show is now. And this last episode, Mark, Invincible, escorts some astronauts from Earth to Mars. And in getting to Mars, the astronauts are taken captive by the native Martians. And we are informed that the Martians essentially have a group of, I mean, to put it frankly, like they seem like dumb versions of Starro from DC.
Which did Starro make a cameo in the recent Suicide Squad trailer as well?
Did he actually? I actually don't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's this race of like kind of starfish-esque aliens that serve the Martians. Apparently, they are a highly combative race of aliens. and the only reason the Martians use them for this purpose is because they can resist their hypnotic touch by means of their shape-shifting, and that if a single one of those aliens was to grasp onto a human, then that would be the end of society as we know it. And we're led to believe we live in a society. Oh God! So we're led to believe that that's the reason why the Martians are being so highly annoyed at the human presence on Mars. So Invincible has to rescue the astronauts, and that means essentially breaking them out of Martian prison and whisking them back to their ship so that they might get back to Earth in one piece. And once they're on the ship, we realize that one of the astronauts has been replaced by a Martian.
Yeah, who didn't see that coming?
And the human that got left behind, that the Martian took the place of, has been taken over by one of these slave aliens, as they were kind of described, and that's all we know so far. Like the beats of this episode are basically like word for word from the comic, so no complaints there. Really,
Matt's gone. Hopefully he'll be back. Matt.
Or in the show, our friend the demon detective, Damon Darkblood, is banished to hell by Cecil and his ilk. And outside of that happening, in the comics, Damon Darkblood is still there, but it seems his purpose has been taken from him in the comics. The show, I think, does a better job of kind of like tying up his storyline a little bit, because once we all know, like we, the audience, know that Omni-Man has committed these atrocities. But in the comic, it plays out a little bit differently, and I don't want to give away too much, perhaps spoiler-wise, since reading comics might be a bit of a stretch for a mostly television or movie-watching audience that might be listening to this podcast. But yeah, I think it was a solid episode. Definitely more world building. I think that the show is on a really good roll right now, and that this episode doesn't reveal a ton more, but I think it does build more towards what ultimately is going to be a big reveal coming that happens in the comics here eventually.
I think you're right. I think it was world building. It did kind of feel like the show was spinning its wheels a little bit. I think the main progression storyline wise was Mark getting into a relationship with the little girl, I can't remember her name.
Amber.
And I mean, again, sort of spinning its wheels with the Omni-Man reveal. Like, obviously, Cecil knows kind of what's going on, but he doesn't know the whole story. Yeah. I mean, it was fine. I didn't love it, but it was, you're right, it was world building. Yeah, I don't know. It was fine. I don't really have much to say about it, I guess.
Yeah. Like the Damon Darkblood stuff to me is what's most interesting, but because in the comic at this point, there's been a big reveal that hasn't happened yet in the show. And I'm assuming that that's going to happen soon. So,
is it dealing with Omni-Man?
Yeah, it deals with Omni-Man and the whole mystery around that.
I mean, I think the show kind of gave it away when he goes into the other dimension and he's like, what did he say exactly? Like, this isn't your world to conquer. I mean, it didn't outright say what's going on, but it does a little bit.
Right. Yeah, no. And that's actually a very strong thread to pull. And like that will come to fruition in the show, I'm assuming at some point, because they have changed a few things in the show versus the comic. So that being said, I don't think they would change that narrative that much. So I'm curious to see what they do with it.
Yeah, by
and
far the
when it's
most
going to happen.
interesting part of the show for me right now, and what's making me come back to it, is definitely Omni-Man's character. Again, like
Mhm.
it's sort of weirdly similar to The Boys. Like Homelander's character is so fascinating, and so is Omni-Man. So just like those superpower characters that kind of have bad motives, I think is really interesting.
Mhm.
I think right now, so let's just run through these trailers here. We don't really have to talk about it much. It'll just be like kind of like a hot take moment. The Black Widow trailer, thought it was okay. Seems like they're playing up the Avengers connection. I hope it's good. I hope it's a sleeper great movie. That's what I really have to say. I also think the Taskmaster and him lunging at her, the stuff where she's falling out of the airplane, helicopter, whatever. It's pretty crazy. Like I got kind of used to the Marvel TV shows now. Like that's cinematic. That's not something they do on the TV shows yet, but
Sure.
seems good. I don't know if you saw that trailer or not, but
No, I'm excited for that movie now,
yeah.
for sure, as means of that trailer.
Space Jam 2. I think we have a little bit more to say about this one. I'll just kind of like say what I'm feeling about it. And this is just, again, like a hot take. Don't feel offended by this. I just kind of felt, I don't want to say underwhelmed. I just feel, Space Jam was such a movie of its time, like 1990. It came out in 1996. It was a 1996 movie. This movie feels like a 2021 movie, like in the vein of like, I hate to say it, like a Tom and Jerry, that one that just came out on HBO Max, or like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie they just did, or all those terrible.
Okay, you cut out there again for a minute.
Oh, did I? Well, I'm hoping again, like it's fine. But what I was saying, that Space Jam, the original 1996 one, was a product of its time. I worry that this 2021 one is going to end up being like Tom and Jerry, the one that's came out, or Sonic the Hedgehog, or those dumb Smurf movies, or the stupid Garfield movies. Like, I don't know, just something about it. I saw it and I'm like, and I think what really did it for me when I saw that LeBron James, when he was in cartoon form, I looked at him and like something just seemed wrong. Like the animations didn't seem like Looney Tunes to me. It almost seemed like a Flash animation. And then they moved to the CGI. And then I was expecting the Monstars to show up, which I love the Monstars. It might even be my favorite part of the movie. And they were just like these stupid CGI creations that I've seen billions of times in other, well, not billion, but seen them countless times. And I'm underwhelmed by it. I don't think anyone's going to see their nemesis and be like, oh man, these are so cool looking. I'm so afraid that they're going to lose. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just a little I guess I wasn't like super excited before, but I'm almost a little offended at this point.
Yeah, no, I think what this trailer demonstrates to me is that this isn't really meant to be an irreverent look back at the original Space Jam, because I think a lot of people from like our generation, who grew up with this movie, either being like young teenagers or children, look at Space Jam as like kind of this cult classic.
Yeah.
And this sequel absolutely seems like more of a cash grab than it does like an irreverent look back, or like a retelling of the story. Like what this movie is like Ready Player One with the Looney Tunes added in. Yeah. And like with a basketball motif. And I hate everything I just said. Like that is a horrible concept for a movie. And so I have zero expectations for what this movie is going to bring to the table. I initially was really excited about this because like Michael Jordan is not a good actor. Like, I don't know if I'm blowing anyone's mind right now.
He was not actor. You take that back.
He was not great in the first Space Jam, and he was playing himself. So let that sink in. But like, it was still a fun movie. Like, it was Michael Jordan playing basketball with a bunch of cartoons. Like, it was not meant to be like a like a smash hit in that regard, but it like struck a chord with a lot of people during that time frame.
I
And
think the more I'm thinking about it, I think what really what made me take a step back is what a CGI fest it was, because I'm fond of traditionally animated stuff, like even if it's still done on a computer, but I just like the way it looks, and I'm just kind of tired of always having everything be CGI all the time. Like I just kind of miss that traditionally animated look. So
no, I would 110% agree. Like I think that the 2D animation in the way that it looks with Michael Jordan standing there next to Bugs Bunny, like lends itself to like how ludicrous the situation is, but like it just somehow it looks better. It harkens back to like Who Framed Roger Rabbit in that regard.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And but whereas with the Space Jam 2, it definitely seems like they wanted to like, oh, now there's CG, so now it's even better. Like, no, I think it takes away from the charm of having like the 2D characters hanging out with the real life actor or basketball player.
We see like CGI characters with real human beings all the freaking time, and like almost every kids movie, and like, well, not every kids movie, but like if there's a kids movie made and there's like a character they're interacting with from like some old TV show, they're almost universally CGI. I kind of like the idea of it just being, he goes to a Toon World. It's probably harder to do, I'm assuming. I don't know, but
well, I don't know about the budgetary constraints. Or like what that would entail, but like I don't know. We dodged a bullet in terms of the Sonic movie with that blue abomination that got redone to make it more appealing and like more like the actual character of Sonic.
Yeah. I saw that movie and it's still kind of an abomination.
Like I don't think that the movie would really be that much better as a result.
Yeah.
But I do think that that it was at least slightly better aesthetics wise as a result of that change. And what they're doing here, I mean, there's been a lot of, I don't know, I've heard a lot of murmurings of people being annoyed at like the redesign of Lola Bunny.
It was being voiced by Zendaya, I might add. So.
Oh, you're bae. Yeah, no, I don't necessarily disagree with those people either. Maybe not for the same reasons, but like I do think that.
Notice she was redesigned, so.
Yeah, like it was.
Like, I mean, CGI, so.
Like the long and short of it is that like Lola Bunny isn't as sexy as she was in the original Space Jam, which yes,
she's not as physically attractive to me anymore.
Right, like,
and so I'm boycotting this movie now. Where can I contact Warner Bros? This is like
you jest, but there are some very passionate people on the internet who are very annoyed by this notion. And
if I'm gonna have an animated rabbit in my movie, I want her to be as attractive as possible. And it's disgusting. We live in a society where that can't happen anymore.
I hate that segue. You stop that right now. No, I don't agree with those people on like the reasons for the redesign of the character, but like why? Like it doesn't have to be that big of a deal. Like she could look different. Who gives a shit? But like they really drastically changed how the character looked, and I think that's maybe what bothers people more than they're letting on.
But wasn't it like creepy Don Cheadle CGI face?
Yeah. Yeah,
I finally like Don Cheadle as an actor now, though, after seeing him in Boogie Nights. I thought he was good in that. Usually I don't really like Don Cheadle.
I like Don Cheadle well enough. How they're utilizing him in this, at least in the trailer, I found myself just thinking, why? Please God, why?
Yeah, I agree. It's like, what are we looking at here? What? Like it would have been better if they got Bill Murray since he was in the first one. Maybe they tried. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I feel like this movie is like some abomination of like Space Jam meets Ready Player One meets uh, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Like,
Oh yeah, good comparison with Ralph Breaks the Internet. That's a good point.
yeah, like they're really trying to like jam in all these different references
Yeah.
and properties and characters all
It
into one.
definitely feels like a marketing push for the like, oh, like we have all these old characters like the Flintstones and Iron Giant and I can't think of any one else. But like and I feel like kids these days, they don't have as much experience with the Looney Tunes, so I think they're less marketable. So maybe
Sure.
that's what they were trying to do with this, is kind of remarket these characters to a new generation. Which, I mean, I guess that's what they always do with like Tom and Jerry, for instance, you know? Like, but I think Tom and Jerry are actually really strangely popular in some parts of the world still. But
well, and I mean, this leads into, I think that this is the negative effect of Fortnite in media. Like because like for those of you who are not aware, Fortnite, the battle royale game that's swept the world in terms of its popularity, has been getting a myriad of different crossovers that happened within the world of the game, and there are narrative.
Matt's gone. He'll be back. Come on, Matt.
We'll touch on the effect of like Fortnite at large in crossovers and just its reach to a younger generation, because Fortnite has incorporated recently, just in this most recent season of the game, The Mandalorian, God of War, Halo, The Walking Dead, Green Arrow, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Taskmaster, Predator, The Terminator, G.I. Joe, Tron, The Flash, Street Fighter, and Alien.
Oh.
All of this shit has been jam-packed into a kid's game. So like the possibilities of like, just look at what's happening with Space Jam. So you look at that, you make the comparison to Fortnite. So all right, so when's the Lola Bunny skin coming into the game? Like I feel like this is gonna happen. It's not so much of an if as it's a matter of when. This game gobbles up references.
I don't want that at all.
It's right, and so I just feel like this is, I won't say desperate, but I will say that this is an attempt to bring the Looney Tunes into more of the modern periphery of the youth, if you will, that would enjoy Space Jam. And I think it's only going to be a matter of time that like something like Space Jam meets Fortnite is brought in as a crossover. But I think like the effect of games or movies like this is real right now in marketing. So I just think that we're going to see more of this in the future rather than less moving forward.
Well, let's talk about the new extended Justice League scene where Joker talks about living in a society. I thought it was okay.
I mean, it's fine. Fine. Okay. You get your moment of the line actually being said in the movie. There you go. Like, I will say this. I think I preferred that line being a little bit more tongue-in-cheek in being in the trailer and not being in the movie.
Well, it's not in the movie. It's just an extended scene, technically.
Yeah, it's an extended scene, and I'm glad it wasn't in the movie.
How dare you?
Because it doesn't fit at all, and the only reason it made it into the trailer was for meme purposes. almost entirely. Like this was 100% like a marketing thing of like the we live in a society thing. Like that was them leaning into that meme for
Yeah.
this movie. And I'm okay with them doing that. The fact that the deleted scene has the scene included, that's fine. But I'm not going to pretend like I'm upset that the scene wasn't in the movie.
Yeah. Let's move on. Okay, season 5, Rick and Morty. My little comment here is I'm strangely not excited for it, and I don't know why. I don't know. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I think it might just be I was affected by like the toxic fan base of this show that people got annoyed with. Like before Rick and Morty, and this is sort of just a human quality of myself. It sort of seemed sort of punk rock. Like not that many people. There was like a feeling that not many people knew about it. Like when I first started watching it, because I was there the first season. I was watching it as it aired. But now, like everybody knows about it, and everyone's wearing gear with Rick and Morty on it. Well, at least they did for a while. So I don't know if it was me or the show. I'm gonna think it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any comments. If not, we'll just move on.
I mean, I love Rick and Morty, but yeah, the toxic fan base has made me much more tepid about bringing it up because I've had this experience in real life of assuming that like someone's political views were along the same line as mine, and then I brought that up in casual conversation, and I was so wrong, and it made things infinitely more awkward than it needed to be, and so
Matt, come back. Your story was good. All right. I don't know what happened. Well, okay. I think what he was going to say was pretty interesting. Since we're having so much technical difficulty here, I think I'm going to end it here. Suicide Squad, yeah. Star Wars: The Bad Batch looks great. I'm excited for it. And I'll leave it here. Check it out. Baron Zemo. He's really getting into it. Yeah. I mean, that's something. Look at that there. Nice. Okay. Well, I'm just going to end the recording. It was great talking to you guys. Please come back next week. Hopefully we'll get the issue under control we've been having for today. So talk to you later. All right. Bye, guys.